We have a new upset of the year so far. The Syracuse Orange have knocked off the defending national champion Clemson Tigers 27-24. Now Clemson really struggled in this game, offensively and defensively. You could argue that Clemson's defense was gassed because going into it, Syracuse probably had a game plan of wanting to go 85 to 90 to 95 offensive snaps, and they got first downs right in the beginning of the game. In the first quarter specifically, it looked like they were moving the ball at will against this Clemson defense, and a lot of people said that and myself included, that Clemson is the number one team in college football. But tonight they didn't even look like it at all. And many people can also argue that Clemson could be the only team that could beat Alabama. Right now that could still be true, that could not be true. I think there's probably at least 3 teams that have a good shot of beating Alabama, maybe even 4. In fact, I'll name them right now. The 4 teams that could beat Alabama, that have a chance against Alabama, besides Clemson, I think Penn State could have a chance. I think Ohio State could have a chance. I think Georgia could have a chance. And I also think TCU might have a chance. Because TCU's offense, it's gotten stronger by the weeks as the weeks go on. And their defense has been pretty consistent all season. Nobody's really talking about that defense. It's being overshadowed by quarterback Kenny Hill, the Texas A&M transfer. But TCU's defense is one of the most underrated defenses in college football. I feel like Penn State could beat Alabama because they have the best player in college football in Saquon Barkley. I feel like Ohio State could because Ohio State lost a game early in the year back in 2014. But then they beat Alabama in the college football playoff. If Ohio State wins out, they'll make the college football playoff. I feel like Georgia could beat out. They could match up to Alabama, especially if they play in the SEC title game. But Georgia has to get there first, and Alabama has to get there first. I think Georgia would have a really strong chance against Alabama. I think they could keep it close. And if you can keep it close in college football, you have a really good shot to win. That's all teams really need to do is just keep it close, and you got a really good chance to win. But let's get back to the game. Kelly Bryant was out in the second half with a concussion, so Zarek Cooper had to play in the second half for the Clemson Tigers. Honestly, personal opinion, I probably may have gone with Hunter Johnson, but I feel like they went with Zarek Cooper because Zarek Cooper kind of could be a replica of Kelly Bryant, but he's not as good as Kelly Bryant is. I feel like if Kelly Bryant was able to play the second half, I think Clemson would have won by at least 14 points. Because teams always have those struggle wins. They have those games that have to struggle. But championship teams, they know how to handle defeat. And as far as this loss goes for Clemson, they lost to Pittsburgh last year in a later portion of the season. And they still managed to get to the college football playoff and eventually win the national championship. So things aren't over for anybody. But what this loss with Clemson does tonight, it brings a lot of one-loss teams back into the picture. It brings Oklahoma back into the picture. It brings Ohio State back into the picture. It brings Michigan back into the picture. It brings a lot of these teams back in the picture. It brings Auburn back in the picture. Because Auburn only lost to Clemson by 8 points. If Auburn's offensive line was probably more decent, you could argue that maybe Auburn could have had a possibility of beating Clemson. But Clemson still has a long way to go. I feel like personally if Clemson wins out, I feel like the committee is going to forgive Clemson for losing this game tonight because I think they're going to realize that Kelly Bryant didn't play the second half with a concussion. But Clemson just didn't look good offensively. They only converted, I believe, it was 2 or 3 third downs out of about 11 or 12, I think it was. It could have been 13. But as far as like them losing as part of this whole Friday the 13th curse, I don't believe that one bit. I don't buy it one bit. I'm not a huge believer in curses. I just feel like that Syracuse is just the better team today. Clemson just didn't come out to play. It could have had a little bit of evidence with them struggling against Boston College for the first 3 quarters of that game and struggling in the second half of Wake Forest. It was kind of evident that Clemson's luck in close games are going to run out eventually. So I don't think it's this whole Friday the 13th curse at all. I just feel like Syracuse was just the better team today. Their team came out to play. They had the mentality of a team that had nothing to lose considering they were 3-3 entering the game, a 3-loss team not going to the college football playoff. They really have nothing to play for this year. So they just had the mentality of a team that's got nothing to lose. When you have nothing to lose, you can play more aggressively than the team that has a lot to lose. Which is why I didn't like the fake punt that Clemson tried. Because not only did that really kill momentum, but it gave Syracuse good field position to try to ice the game. If they would have punted it, and they could have probably tried to down it inside the 10 or inside the 5, trust the defense. Trust that championship caliber defense to stop Syracuse. See, despite them moving the ball at will throughout the game, it just takes one stop to get momentum right back on your side. If Syracuse would have tried the fake punt, it would have been a whole different story. Considering their team has nothing to lose and they could play more aggressively. But Clemson, they had almost everything to lose at that point. Because Clemson has tough games coming up. They have a rivalry game against Florida State, which based off of last week with Miami, Florida State, any rivalry game in general, you can throw stats and you can throw record books out the window in rivalry games. They've got a rivalry game against South Carolina. South Carolina they got potential to still have a great second half of the year, despite losing Deebo Samuel for the year. But they still have to play NC State on the road. And if you think NC State's crowd was jacked up against Louisville last week, just wait till you have the defending national champions coming to town. Just wait to see how jacked up it's going to be that day. Or night, because I really anticipate this being a nighttime game, I believe it's going to be. But yes, Clemson's got a tougher heaven, and plus they still have the ACC championship game if they even get there. So right now, nothing is given at this point. So that's all I got to really say on that. The loss really brings one-loss teams back in the picture. It brings Oklahoma back in the picture. It brings Ohio State back in the picture. It brings Michigan back in the picture. It brings Auburn back in the picture. It brings a lot of one-loss teams back into the picture. In fact, it actually brings TCU right up into the discussion area. But the thing I don't like about how this AP poll is based on what it's seeming like. It seems like Penn State's going to move up to 2 despite not playing this week. That's what it seems like for AP poll. So my top 4 is going to be really different this week. We just got to see how everybody plays. So that's all I have for you tonight. Like and subscribe to the channel. Have a great rest of your weekend, everybody, and I will see you next time.